Hey, good morning, and welcome to another Sales and Marketing Fry Talks. Today, we are going to discuss about the maximizing the impact of the marketing events. In-person events has been always, one of the main tactics what many marketeers were using also in the B2B space for the awareness, for the lead generation, community building, and many other activities. But at the same time, it's very resource consuming and it's actually very challenging in terms of understanding what the outcome and how to measure that. So, how to turn all these significant efforts, significant investments usually into these events, into real impact, into some sales pipeline. And is it possible at all? That's the question what we would like to understand today. And for that reason, we have invited Anastasia Zencika, the CMO at ECOMMPAY. And ECOMMPAY has been always very active with creating events, participating in events, and therefore have extensive experience around this topic. So welcome, Anastasia.
Welcome.
The pleasure is mine. It's really nice to see you, and we did work a lot with you guys to help us actually understand who our clients are and how to approach them rightly. So the pleasure is mine to discuss how we do the events for them. Do you want me to start with an introduction?
Yeah, please, go ahead.
Cool. So yes, my name is Anastasia. I work at ECOMMPAY. We are a payment service provider, so it's B2B business, and we are headquartered in the UK, in London, and have a back office located in Latvia. In general, we have 4 offices and more than 700 employees, and basically our services include anything connected to acquiring, online payments, alternative payment methods, and payouts for any kind of online business. And in terms of events, we basically participated, I think, in more than 100 exhibitions all over the world. We've been in Asia, we've been in all of Europe, and the biggest booth that we've developed was 200 meters big. And in addition to that, it was huge. It was really huge. And in addition to that, we, I think, arranged more than 20 events for our customers and partners. And we also built our own conference. So that's what I'll be sharing today.
Yeah, that sounds very, very impressive. And therefore, I'm really looking forward to, learn from you and get some insights around these topics. But hey, let's start maybe with what I was wondering that in last couple of years, the whole world has changed quite significantly, and events as well, the need for the events and things like that. And many activities now went into the digital world and for obvious reason. And how do you see how that has changed and changed the need for the face-to-face event? Is it still have a place for that or not?
Mm-hmm. Well, it might be a better idea to actually start from the beginning. Like, I've joined the company 10 years ago, and at that time, it was actually necessary to go to industry events. Otherwise, nobody will believe that you have a sustainable business. So basically, the plan was if you go to a new industry or open a new market, you must attend key events for that industry or for that market. And at that time, it basically worked like this. You choose the most popular events, you invest quite a lot of money for those events, and you hope that adequate amount of clients come, but usually they don't come on the first year. They come for the first year, they basically start to understand who you are and start to recognize you. For the second year, you've already built some kind of brand awareness. And for the third year, they see that you are still with them and they're starting to trust you. And only on the third year, you basically see substantial results for all of your investment for those 3 years. It's exaggeration. It might not work for everyone like this. For us, we can still see that that's the case for key industries. Going back to your question, this was before COVID. Then COVID hit us, and as you remember, we didn't have any events for almost 2 years. And this was revolution for events in general, and it was revolution for how people make decisions. Because before that, we saw that event is the only time when we can actually decide who we are working with. During COVID, everyone started to do proper tenders. Everyone started to do proper comparison of companies. We've started to make decisions based on data. We've saved lots of money on all the business trips for most expensive cities in Europe. So the situation changed and nothing stopped. We've been still doing business. We've been actually selling much more than we usually sell during events.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I have a question. So what's then your take on the business? You mentioned basically starting with different ways to do it. And one is to do events. And you explained how over time it starts working. Another is moving to completely rational decision making, which took place over the COVID. So would you say that people generally prefer to make purchases which are less rational, perhaps emotional, and they feel safer to make decisions if they have met people or seen them at the expo or see their speaker talking on the stage, or you should pursue purely rational way with proper tenders, comparisons, etc.?
It probably depends on the person itself. The rational way is always better in terms of business, but based on the fact that we are seeing that all the events are actually getting back and the amount of people attending the events is increasing every year, we can see that people actually love to meet each other. They're going there to make this community. They're going to exchange their opinions. And finally, we actually make decision based on the fact, do we like that person who is selling that service or we don't? So it would be great if you would have the combination of both rather than just going on one or another. And it would be great if you would go for the data-driven decision, which would probably save us lots of money on exhibition, but the behavioral factor is still there. We still like to meet people.
Yeah, I think it's very important factor indeed. And probably there is something in between, right? A mixture of both, like a rational and irrational part of our brain.
Well, I believe that people are essentially rational, and they are just using rational process to justify irrational decisions which they have made already. I think that's it.
That's very, very true. Yeah. Anastasia, what I would like to ask you, like considering these all changes in general, how do you see, where is the place for events in the marketing mix in your case? How do you see the role of this?
I would love to say that it's lead generation, but to be honest, it's all about recognition and brand awareness for us. That's it.
But should it be a lead generation engine in general, do you think?
It should be, and it could be. It depends on the industry and on how well do you prepare your staff. But in general, it's more about brand awareness. And it also, sometimes in our case, for example, it works really good for final stages of decision-making. Yes. So basically, when we talk with our dream merchants for ages and they see us at one of the events and our booth is amazing and the key people are actually present, it's quite easy for them to make the decision. Otherwise, it could be dragging as well for ages for them to decide.
Yeah, I agree. I think there probably no one single answer whether events are really something what can generate leads or not, and what is the role of events. I think it's very much depends on how do you position the event itself, right? And how do you define the objective of the event? Because if you look from the, again, customer journey perspective, but obviously that there are stages what customers are going through, and if you, for instance, want to position more yourself towards the top of the funnel, and you would like to educate broad set of people around topics what you potentially can help them solving. That's the one objective, right? So you do not expect people come and buy here, but it's more about them to learn about the problem and learn about yourself as a potential provider of the solution. That's one. Another type of event is when you're already addressing the solution and a specific audience who is looking for this solution, right? And then you come and you tell them, hey, this is exactly how it can be solved. This is exactly how we can be helping you in solving this. And then it's more towards the lead generation. So I think it's very much depends on where
Yeah, you're totally right. It actually also depends on the event itself. So there are so many different types of events, and we can go through them one by one and discuss which has worked for us and in which scenario. And then we can also actually understand if it's in what kind of sales process it helps to solve. Yeah, so like going back to that, we basically started to talk about industry events. And those are the key exhibitions for your industry. And for us, it's video gaming, retail, travel, hospitality, avia, startups, and so on. And that's like basically the way we choose an event. We usually see the amount of customers who are attending it, and we take the biggest ones. And then we also see if our competitors are present and who are the people who will be attending the event. Because if the decision makers in our sphere are not really planning to go to that event, it's not worth for us to attend it. And this specific event is more about brand awareness and actually talking to our existing customers, maybe doing some upselling, maybe building recognition in the sphere in general. Then we moved to something very different and at the same time quite the same. This has actually been developing during COVID, and it's pre-scheduled networking events. We can see them in both digital sphere and in offline settings. And it basically means that people from your industry or another type of industry, they develop a conference where they say that they will be selling tickets to the clients that you want to invite to that conference. And then they help you to actually arrange meetings with those customers. It could be just 10-minute meeting. It could be a roundtable discussion. It could be you presenting among those customers. It could be, roundtable presentation with the potential customers of yours and so on. That's actually really cool thing that is quite new for the market. Not many people know about it, and it takes some time to research the key events for your industry.
But those are typically organized by somebody else, right? It's not your own, it's still third-party event, right?
Yeah. Because if you arrange it yourself, you're basically letting customers know that you will be selling. In this case, it's a third-party provider that is arranging this type of event, and he is mixing the customers who are going there. And it should be a mix where not just you are selling something, but somebody else is. So it's like... it's a win-win, basically, scenario for everyone to go there.
Okay.
Moving on, we have webinars like this. And webinars could be educational, like we have at the moment, or it could be just brand recognition-wise. I'm telling a little bit more about my company. It's also really cool thing to talk about HR practices and culture, and it's a good idea to attract people during webinars to your company.
So it's more like making your company visible from the different aspects of your business, as you said, like internally, so that people recognize it as a trusted partner, right?
I wouldn't say that we at ECOMMPAY invest heavily in webinars, but I know lots of companies who are actually driving quite huge traffic because of webinars. The way something that really works for all of them is educational content. It could be educational content on your product. if it's a huge B2B product, or it could be educational product that is relevant for your customers.
Yeah, it's very true, because I think content is a king, as we know, and what in current situation when everyone is so overwhelmed with different type of webinars, you have to think not even twice, but maybe more times before you go live and offer something. It should be high value content. Otherwise, it's, on my opinion, very hard to keep people engaged and listening to you or watching to you.
True. Another thing that we used to have at webinars, we basically record them and then sell them on demand. So we use them for lead generation on our webpage. Those could be also advertised in social media or in Google Ads. And then basically customers who are coming to that landing page, they just enter their details, they download the webinar, we use it extensively for some period of time, and we generate leads because of that.
Yeah, sure.
And then we also have key industry events for our business. So for us, it's fintech. And sometimes we go to huge fintech conferences. It's not really for lead generation. It's more for brand recognitions about around your customers and developing those relationships with your partners. So for us, it's going to Money 2020, for example, where we exchange opinions, we understand what's going on in the industry. We might be presenting so that to attract talent as well from other companies who are actually there and present, and so on.
Okay.
Yeah, and
any other type of events? What you else see working well?
Yeah, basically another sector would be events that we do for existing customers. And those are VIP events, for example, for customers where we invite them to a specific place. It could be around industry events. So, for example, if you're going to a travel exhibition, which is huge, we invite all of our travel clients to a bar for a networking event. It helps them to remember us. It helps them to talk about us during the event and raise brand recognition among their people and their customers as well. And it just develops this kind of really nice relationship among us.
Yeah, I think it's a very good way to create this personal connection, right? More deeply.
I would like to ask you, Anastasia, what's your experience with the scale of the presence? Because my belief is that if we talk about industry events, you need to be visible enough. There's certain minimal scale which you need to meet for event to work. And my thinking is that really going with some small booth somewhere far away in the hall very often doesn't make sense, because many people don't notice you. You don't have possibility to signal that you are at the table with the big guys, and you are tied down to your booth. So you don't have freedom to walk around and make business. What's your take on that?
I think it depends on your goals for the event and on your business. So for us, we can see that many of our partners who are well recognized, they're actually putting up a really small booth, and they still have hundreds of people going there and checking them up and talking with them, because everyone needs that solution. For us, it was always different. We've decided that it's our strategy to go bold and go with huge booths and make an impression. And it worked. It worked really well. We've been negotiating really good positions on the floor map. We've been going with really big booths, at least for the first couple of years, so that people develop this brand recognition and trust in us. And then we can decide, do we still want to keep a booth of 200 meters, or do we want to make a smaller booth and do something extra on it to attract customers?
Yeah. But do you think for those who are in not so strong position as yours, in terms of getting people really come and talk to them, Do you need to have some preparation activities, like, I don't know, maybe run some digital campaigns around your participation in those events, or make people again informed, and maybe even pre-book some meetings? Or have you seen this practice, and this is something working?
Yeah. So from one side, you'll have customers anyway if you're going for the biggest events, like
Yes.
taking into account like the conferences in Europe, you basically have around 10, 20,000 people attending it. Next week, it will be Web Summit. Web Summit is attended by 70,000 people. Really,
Yes.
like there is no chance nobody will attend your booth. But if you don't do the preparation, the quality of people who will be attending your booth might be really bad. So we do have specific procedures to do really good preparation. So basically, what we try to do is we try to make a list of people who will be attending, who have attended the event before. We also put advertising on for that specific segment, who lives in specific countries and is planning to attend or is searching for that specific event. We try to pre-schedule meetings, and like probably looking back and analyzing everything, I would say that most of the deals that we make during the events are actually pre-scheduled, because you have to prepare people, you have to send them information in advance, you have to understand their needs, and preferably also do the research of customers who you will be meeting to understand what exactly are you selling and why the customer will need it.
Yeah.
So it's quite a lot of preparatory work before the event, of course.
Are there any other factors what can influence the success of the event? What else you need to consider besides the kind of promoting it and inviting people?
I would say that the amount of time you spend training the people who will be standing on your booth is very important, because not everyone understands that when you're working on an exhibition floor, you should be not on your phone, but watching people go and pass and greeting them. And even if you pay to a promo staff who is working at your reception, for example, sometimes they're just sitting there in their phones. And it's also our like behavioral thing. When we approach a booth, if nobody is there to greet us, we might pass it by. We might be afraid to actually start the discussion ourselves. So that is very important. We actually do preparatory calls with all the staff who will be attending, even the promo staff who is there just for one day, to go through the products once again, to go through the team once again, to understand who is doing what in a specific place and at what specific time, and to kind of manage the communication on the spot as well, because there should be somebody on the floor all the time. Even if everyone decides to eat lunch, they should exchange opinions, see who is actually going at what time, and so on.
Yeah, sure. And now maybe let's discuss a little bit about the impact, right? So again, from what you just shared, it's just confirms that how much effort you need to invest into the both financially and your time-wise, right, in preparing and running this event. So how to make really sense out of this for the sales team, and if it's possible, right, what type of impact you can expect, and how basically sales can benefit from these events.
So for us, at some point, we've decided to divide it into two sections. One is brand awareness. And for brand awareness, we basically set up KPIs on the amount of clients who will be attending, on the amount of people who will pass by, on how the stand will look, and if everyone is satisfied, how everything was arranged, and so on. And another one is a sales-related topic, and it's very important to actually discuss it with sales and make sure that you're both aligned on it, because otherwise it will not work. And in terms of sales, we've developed specific process where they do the preparatory work. They, of course, enter it into CRM or any other tool where you actually see how the leads are converting. And we see the results after each event a couple of times. So we basically do the calculations 2 weeks after the event. Then we get back to that specific event in 3 months, and then we get back to that specific event in 6 months. Because the time it takes for a client to convert could be really big.
But how practically do you collect leads? Is it just, because salespeople are present on the spot and they have conversations, they just, somehow collect, business cards, or there is any other better way how to do that?
Yeah, we do it differently. Yes, of course, you still collect business cards. Actually, for the past year, not that many people still go with business cards. Many go with the electronic cards and exchange those in applications. We do preparatory work in applications. Most of the big exhibitions actually have one. You can always ask for a badge scanner of the exhibition, and that's a really good and easy idea how to collect lists of leads from the events. Sometimes you want to show the demo to clients during an event, and then you do it on iPad, for example, and you ask the client to actually enter their details, and you send the demo to the client, which is also an easy way for you to see what has been interesting for that specific client, what pages did he see, and maybe after that, it's easier for you to follow up as well. There are also technologies that actually track how many people entered your booth. It's a quite new technology. You put sensors on basically corners of your booth, and then everyone who is passing by is calculated. To be honest, we haven't used it in practice. I'm not sure that it's worth it, but for some of your customers, it might be worth exploring this option as well.
Yeah, I think the idea of having a demo and also having like some way of personalizing this and passing it over by email or any other channel, that's a very good idea, I think, because that's first of all really helps you to collect the data, right, the information, but secondly, it gives you opportunity for the follow-up, because there is obvious reason why do you follow up with the person. Hey, remember we were discussing that and I showed you a demo, how did you find it, and so on and so forth. So I think it's a very good tip you just shared with us.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing that I could share is sometimes you see lots of people who do giveaways, and they think that they're collecting leads using those giveaways. We also used to do it. We did put quite a lot of money into it. So we used to have a Formula One car. We used to have flight simulation in our booth and so on. And for 3 days, you basically collect lists of leads. And then if you go through them after the event, you basically understand that none of them are your potential customers. Like, it might be one, but actually those people who are participating in giveaways, usually those are the staff or promo people who are there just to collect the gifts from everyone.
But there is very clear objective, right? So if you say, hey, participate because you have a chance to win this ticket to the Formula One or whatever else, that's why people participate. They are not giving away their contact information because they want to have a business with you. And it would be very naive to expect leads out of that. But it's good that you are sharing this experience. Yeah, Roland, go ahead.
I wanted to ask you, how do you find how efficient is organizing after trade show events, like some, I don't know, reception parties, free bar, basically organizing situation for people to be able to relax, network, and so on. How you tried it, and does it work for you?
Yeah, we do it most of the time, actually. We do have, in all the big events, we have either a bar on our booth, or we do some kind of reception, and it's great to develop relationships with clients. it's great for them to remember. They're starting to trust you more, and it's easier for them to actually talk with you about their problems, which you might not even get from the official conversation.
Yeah, so that's another way how you can basically generate some potential leads, right? Because
Yes, and
people
it's,
who come, they are very related to the need, right?
and if I can share one example about this, I also think this works. And we were I think in Abu Dhabi in Expo, and there was one guy which was quite known in industry, and he just sent email to his contacts saying he's organizing party in the evening. He was not paying for trade show. He was not appearing there. He was just making sure that people get invitations from him. So he hired at opposite to this trade hall, Hilton Hotel, a suite, not a big hall, just a suite. He hired basically a person serving bar, and simple things like rather cheap wine, beer, chips, popcorn. That's it. Extremely guerrilla, extremely cost efficient, and he had a full room of people. He had possibility to present his product, and he had everyone relaxed and open to hear some kind of marketing messages. So
Yeah.
I thought that's kind of a brilliant hack, ignoring the main event altogether, but taking the people away to his own party.
Yeah, we did something similar once when we decided not to sponsor an event because the sponsorship was really expensive. But on that hotel where the event was taking place, there was a really nice bar on top of the hotel. So we rented out all of the bar, and all the people who actually went to the event, they actually at some point appeared in our bar. And for them, it was the best place to be because they got to meet all the speakers. They've been feeling this VIP customer attitude towards them. We all became really good friends because we had this amazing view. And it wasn't about business, it was about having fun and just enjoying each other's company.
Yeah.
And out of that event, I think we actually got like 5 clients in a couple of weeks, which was a really good result for us.
I think it's a good wrap up for today's conversation. Both of you shared really nice tips how to be creative and leverage events and still generate leads. I thank you very much, Anastasia and Roland, for sharing this. For all who participated today with us, I just want to remind you guys that all information about this and other episodes what we have been running before of B2B Sales and Marketing Fry Talks, you always can find on our LinkedIn profile, IBD Consulting. You also can follow hashtag Fry Talks, and that will help you navigate around all this content already existing on the LinkedIn. But otherwise, you can visit our YouTube channel and go for the podcast version of our conversations on your preferred podcast platform. So once again, thank you, Anastasia, for coming and sharing your insights and great tips. I'm looking forward to have another conversation with you. I wish you all the great success with the now events again returning into our agendas. And so thanks a lot for being with us. Looking forward to the next conversation.
It was my pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Yes, thank you.